Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals. I'm here to review episode 96, written by Francis Swan, and clearly directed by Leo Swift here. My God. So, you get Francis Swan to write a really, really creepy episode. Now, this episode has a case of bad weatheritis. Basically, it's raining so hard. The rain is so heavy from what looks like monsoon weather. Again, they're all, Dark Shadows is fictionally set on the East Coast. They are filming in New York, but you have heavy raindrops coming down, and it's causing the roads to flood. Not just the side roads, but the main roads. And you have Roger Collins and Victoria, who's driving Victoria Winters back from Bangor to Collinwood. And on the way, they get caught in this superstorm, and the main roads are flooding, and they take a side road. It's not that much better. In fact, it's worse. Now, they're not the only ones out in this mess. Apparently, the Sheriff George Patterson, played by Dana Elker, is also out in this mess. And his car is going to break down because of the same thing, battery, I believe. He knocks on the door of Collinwood. He's close enough by, and because he was caught in between the road between Collinwood and somewhere else. I forget exactly where he said. Liz answers the door, tells him to come in. He takes off his wet jacket and stuff. You can tell, too, I don't know if what they did to make the jacket look wet, whether they just threw some water on it, but it looks legitimately wet. It looks like it's been raining. So Sheriff Patterson hands his jacket up. You have Liz and him have this interesting conversation. He goes, "You care if I use your phone to call my men and let them know what's going on to get me another car?" She goes, no problem at all. And she also says, "Hey, I'll make you some coffee." He says, He goes, "No trouble yourself." She goes, "No trouble at all." By the way, in the whole car sequence, the Roger and Victoria driving back, Victoria is talking about that pen, and Roger's downplaying the whole thing. He goes, "That's really not that much evidence. It's not that big of a deal if you're making it out to be. It's the evidence isn't that large." Again, this is a case of you have to keep in mind many things when you're watching this episode. Victoria never saw this pen being given to Carolyn. Victoria never saw Roger take the pen from Carolyn. She therefore never knew Roger ever had the pen. So she only learned the pen originally belongs to Burt Devlin. That's all she learned about that pen. And it was found at Lookout Point, where Bill Malloy's body was found, where he most likely died, So since the side roads are flooded, Roger stops the car. He goes, "It looks like I'm going to drive into the Atlantic. There's a big, big puddle. It's too deep for the car to go through." And the car stalls, too. This is a nice little effect. So they go in this abandoned shack. By the way, the stove that Roger lights in the abandoned shack is the same damn stove in Matthew Morgan's cottage. The crates you see are the crates in the basement of Collinwood. So they're reusing some props here, which is smart. That are a part of the sets, which is smart. Again, you're saving money by doing this. though you are building a new set with this abandoned shack, if you will. So Roger leaves a note in his car in case anybody finds it, that him and Vicky are in this shack. You also get more conversation about the pen, and Roger says, look, it's not enough evidence. Just promise me you won't say anything. Just let this go. And she's like, okay. You also have Vicky ask Roger, what do you want? I want them to rescue us. And she goes, is there anything else? And he goes, I want you to go leave Collinwood. He goes, I know I sound like a broken record, but I want you to leave Collinwood. Again, this is just further proof Roger never really hired her, never really recommended her for the job. Why would you recommend somebody you were going to tell to leave? There are some really interesting tidbits that take place at Collinwood, too. It's not just all Roger and, Victoria here. You have Elizabeth says she hasn't driven a car in 18 years. She says her father would be disappointed because he wanted a boy initially and he got her. And Sheriff Patterson says, I think you've done well for yourself. He'd be proud of you. The sheriff makes 3 phone calls. 2 you hear. The third one you do not. They cut away. Obviously, the sheriff ends up leaving, and he finds Vicky and finds Roger in the shack. So the sheriff does find other people were out in this mess. Though Liz did tell him Vicky was in Bangor and everybody else is in the house. Keep in mind, Liz has not checked the house. She has not checked the garage. So it's not that she's lying. She just doesn't know that Roger is out in this mess. And that's all that really happens in this episode. Is this filler? Yeah, this is filler. This is straight filler because literally there's not really anything happening here. Look, I'm proud to say after 96 episodes, out of 96, I've currently only found maybe 2 filler episodes out of all this. That's not bad when you think about that, in my opinion. Really, really fun episode. I think this is something to. It's not that Dark Shadows never uses weather elements. Again, they do. They use the wind and stuff like that. But I feel this is something too they don't use enough later on. Bad weather affecting normal people. They go away from this actually a bit. Again, it's not that they don't use weather. They don't use it specifically this way. They more use weather as more of a horror trope than anything else. And I get why. Again, you're a gothic soap opera. And look, was weather initially used as a horror trope here? Yeah, it was. To be fair, it knocked out the power in Collinwood. Vicky had to light candles. It also knocked out the candles, the wind did, and she saw a figure in the foyer, standing in between the foyer and the drawing room. So I don't blame them from going the bad weather affects normal people to let's just use the weather as a horror trope, because initially they did use the weather as a horror trope in a way. So, all right, so yeah, Francis Swan with Swift. Link to this episode will be in the description box. You guys have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.